talk a little bit about how to start a begonia off from tuber. When you buy your tubers, you can either start them in a small pot or in a tray. In the tray, the only trap is that you don't repot them when they grow a little bit. They can become elongated like this one, which is undesirable, and you don't finish up with a nicer plant. When you put them into a pot, whether it be a small pot or a large pot, bury them at least a ½ inch deep so that the roots can form all around the tuber. Also, if you leave your tubers exposed, they can be subject to a disease, a fungus disease, if you keep them continually wet. When you potted them up, after a few weeks, they'll look like this. Or if you've started them off in a small pot, they'll look something like this. And then when they get to this size, you transfer them to a 6-inch pot, and to make sure they're ready for potting, you gently turn them upside down, gently, and you can see the roots running around the inside of the pot. That is well and truly ready to go onto an 8-inch pot if you desire. Otherwise, you can leave them in the 6-inch pot like this one has been and let them flower at that size, or into the 8, and this one's been there for some time and he's ready now to go into a bigger one, or you can let him flower. But take the buds off until you get a nice plant, and then you'll get a better result. This one has been put into a 10-inch pot, and if you look closely, you can see that the soil is very dry. We let them dry out a little bit between waterings, otherwise they don't develop as well. Once they get to this side, once they get into this pot, this will be disbudded. We'll take the flower buds off until the plant gets considerably bigger, and then let it flower, and then you'll get larger flowers and more of them. One thing to be very careful of is that to stake your plants before they come into flower, because the weight of the flower, the flower is very heavy, and the weight of the flower can drag the plant over and snap it off of the tuber. So you need to put a stake in behind the plant, being very careful not to put it down through the tuber. You put it right down in, and then get yourself some twisty tie or some similar thing, but something that won't cause the plant to sweat, and put it in behind there and tie it to the stake. If you've got very tall plants, as the plant grows, you may need to tie it 2 or 3 times. But once you've staked that, the weight of the flower won't break it off. One thing I'll mention here before I go any further is that when your plants are just starting off, they're more susceptible to overwatering than at any other time. So allow them to dry out before watering each time, and they won't die of too much drought, because these particular tubers have been out of the soil since October, and it's now January, towards the end of January, and they're still trying to grow, and they've just been put into this tray. So they're quite hardy to drought, but shade them from direct sunlight, because that can burn the pips, and if you have them exposed, they're also subject to rotting if you keep the soil continually damp. So much better off if they are buried to half an inch to an inch deep. And I still get a thrill out of something like this turning into something like this, or producing a flower and a plant like that. They're considered by most people to be hard to grow or impossible to grow, but the biggest key to growing them is the watering, and that is not to water them too often. A good big drink, and then let the surface dry, and I think you'll find they'll do a lot better. And especially when they're starting off like this, it takes a while for them to get going. And once they get going up to this stage or this stage, then they drink better. And then the rule of thumb is just give them a drink when the surface of the soil shows dryness.